Hey guys, Mr. Wilhelm here. Today we're here to talk about the human body systems. We're going to take a brief look at each system of the body. We're going to talk about the function, the job of each system, and we're also going to look at the organs and then the function of those organs within those systems. And then we'll talk also a little bit about how some of these systems interact with each other in order to help the overall body work. So here are the systems that we're going to take a look at. We have the circulatory system, the digestive, endocrine, and excretory systems, the urinary system, the immune system, muscular system, nervous and respiratory systems, the skeletal system, and the integumentary system, commonly known as the skin. The first system that we're going to take a look at is the circulatory system. Now, the main function of the circulatory system is to deliver nutrients to the cells and then take away waste products from the cells. Every cell in your body needs water, food, and oxygen, just like you need water, food, and oxygen. And then every cell in your body also produces waste, just like you produce waste. So it's the job of the circulatory system to take water, food, and oxygen to each cell and also to take away the waste products. Now, the red blood cells found in the blood are primarily responsible for delivering these nutrients and taking away the waste products. The red blood cells, travel through these pathways, which we call blood vessels. We have arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins carry blood back to the heart, and capillaries are kind of in between. Capillaries are little bitty blood vessels that are between arteries and veins. Now, the heart is responsible for pumping the blood. The heart is responsible for circulating and pushing that blood along the blood vessels so that those red blood cells can come in contact with each cell. And it's important to note that red blood cells have to come in contact with every last cell in your body, because that contact has to be made. There has to be that switch, that trade-off, where the red blood cells drop off that food, oxygen, and water, and also pick up the waste product from the other cells of the body. So in our little diagram here, we have obviously the heart, where you all know about the heart in the middle of your chest. The heart is a muscle. We'll talk about it again when we get to the muscular system. And it's pumping the blood. It's pushing the blood, the red blood cells, out. The red blood cells, the blood travels along the pathways, which are the arteries, which in this diagram are red, and then the veins, which carry the blood back to the heart, which in this diagram is indicated by the blue blood vessels. It's important to note that the circulatory system circulates. The blood goes in a cycle. It goes in a circular motion around the body. It goes from heart to arteries, to capillaries, to veins, back to the heart. And it's constantly going around the body in that order. The next system is the digestive system. The digestive system is all about taking large pieces of food and breaking it down to a very, very small pieces of food so that that food can be absorbed or picked up by the blood. Because remember, we said that each cell in the body needs nutrients, needs food. So the digestive system is all about taking that apple or taking that steak and breaking it down to such a small piece, to breaking it down to the molecular level, such a small piece that it can be picked up by red blood cells and taken to the other cells in the body. So the major organs that we have are the esophagus, stomach, small intestines, and large intestines. Now the esophagus here is a soft tube in your throat, and it's over here in our diagram. It's a soft tube in our throat that goes down to the stomach. And it's all about just taking food and moving it to the stomach. So you chew up the food, you swallow the food, and then it goes down your esophagus. Your esophagus is a stretchy tube. It also has a muscular lining, and we'll talk about it again when we get to the muscular system, but it has a muscle lining that enables the esophagus to squeeze food, like squeezing a tube of toothpaste, squeeze food down to the stomach. We call the squeezing process peristalsis. Peristalsis. It's the squeezing process of the esophagus. and it mashes and squeezes that food and forces it to go to your stomach. Interesting enough, you could stand on your head, okay? You could flip yourself upside down and still eat your Cheetos. And those Cheetos are going to go to your stomach whether you're sitting up, laying down, or upside down, because that esophagus is going to force that food to your stomach. You can do this with drinking as well, although I would probably use a straw, because if you try to drink standing on your head, it makes a mess. All right, going on. Stomach. Okay, stomach is the storage pouch. Here is the stomach right here in our diagram. It's this little storage container. So we have the esophagus, takes the food down to the stomach. The stomach stores the food. It also has a muscular lining and mixes up the food and mashes it up. Okay, mixes it with acid and helping in the digestion process. Again, we're trying to take the large piece of food and make it smaller and smaller and smaller until we can get it into the blood. The small intestines continues the whole digestion process, continues to break down the food, and at this point the food's getting almost small enough, and is small enough, that it can be absorbed by the blood. So we have the blood that goes into the small intestines. It absorbs that very, very small food. The red blood cells pick up those nutrients so that they can take those nutrients to the cells. Then we have the large intestines. The large intestines is all about collecting that undigested food, that food where the nutrients are not used or it's remaining stuff left over. Okay, and at that point, water is absorbed. Okay, so instead of absorbing nutrients in the small intestines, we're now absorbing the water. And obviously, we have to have water. Our cells need water in order to function as well. So that's a very important process in large intestines in absorbing the water. So the small intestines, let's back up for just a second, are these squiggly tubes in your midsection. Okay, small intestines coil around here. Small intestines can be up to 30 feet long. Okay, we need all that tube, all that extra time for those small intestines to absorb all those nutrients. And then the large intestines is the larger tube that goes around the outside of the small intestines. Okay, so the large intestines is this bigger tube that goes around the small intestines. Although the large intestines is shorter than the small intestines, it has a greater diameter, and you can see that it's just, in overall, it's a bigger tube than the small intestines. Okay, the endocrine system is all about controlling processes of the body using chemicals. The endocrine system is involved with how fast you metabolize or how fast you burn your food. Okay, it's all about regulating your body processes like sleep and so forth. It's controlling your body processes through using chemicals. You have adrenal glands, your thyroid. Your thyroid is a very large gland that you can find in your neck. Okay, and then also the pancreas. The pancreas, it is part of the endocrine system, but it's also part of the digestive system, because the pancreas helps produce chemicals to help in the digestion process and regulating the digestion process. So that's the endocrine system. The excretory system is all about getting rid of waste. And the excretory system actually combines several other systems and organs within several other systems. The excretory, EX, it's all about getting waste out. Okay, all about getting waste out. Exit. Okay, getting waste out of the body. Excretory. Part of the excretory system is the urinary system. The urinary system is all about filtering the blood and getting the waste products out of the blood. You have the kidneys, which are the two primary organs of the urinary system. Okay, blood goes into the kidneys. The kidneys filter the waste products out of the blood. Those waste products came from the cells. They're in the blood. The kidneys filter them out, and then the waste product build up into the bladder. You guys all know about your bladder. At some point in time, you've had to go to the bathroom and you get that sensation down there, right down there in the bladder. Okay, the bladder gets full. Obviously, you get rid of what's in the bladder, you feel better. Okay, so the kidneys collecting the waste products from the blood, collects in the bladder, getting rid of it out of the body, excretory system. Other organs of the excretory system include the skin. Okay, how's the skin an excretory organ? Because every time you sweat, you're actually getting rid of waste products. Okay, your sweat kind of has that salty taste to it. It's getting rid of salt and other waste products. So every time you sweat, you're getting rid of some of the stuff your body doesn't need as well. The lungs, another organ of the excretory system. Lungs also part of the respiratory system. However, the lungs are getting rid of carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide is a waste product to us. We don't need it. Therefore, the lungs help us to get rid of it. So, excretory system, getting rid of the waste products. Urinary system, part of the excretory system as well, but primarily responsible for getting rid of the liquid waste. Immune system. Immune system is all about fighting disease. You got the white blood cells floating around in our blood. Therefore, white blood cells are all over our body. They're attacking little invaders, bacteria and other germs, and fighting off those diseases and trying to keep us healthy. And that is the immune system. We also have the lymph nodes, which help collect materials and return those materials to the blood, and also responsible for collecting some of those waste products. A lot of times if you go to the doctor will feel your neck, and he's going to want to find out if those lymph nodes are swollen. If those lymph nodes are swollen, that means they're busy. They're busy trying to collect and get rid of those disease-causing agents in your body. Muscular system. Muscular system, we usually think about muscles as being on the outside of our body, okay, for the most part, and helping us to move, and that's true. When you're thinking about the muscular system, usually you think about these muscles right here called skeletal muscles. Now, skeletal muscles, the reason we call them skeletal muscles is because these muscles are attached to your bones, and when you want to move, your brain sends a signal to these muscles and gets them to contract, and then these muscles pull on your bones and then obviously help the body to move. So those are the skeletal muscles. Okay, they're attached to your legs, your mouth, your neck, okay, your arms. Those are all those muscles that help all the parts of your body move. Okay. You also have cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is found in your heart. Your heart is made of cardiac muscle. It is a very resilient, very tough muscle. Toughest muscle in your body is the heart. It's continually beating, never gets an opportunity to stop. All your other muscles get an opportunity to take a break. Okay, your heart does not. It has to pump your entire life nonstop. It's pumping blood, pumping that oxygen throughout your body. Then you have smooth muscle. Now, smooth muscle is the muscle that's found in your stomach and found in your esophagus, and helps that peristalsis process occur. Smooth muscle does not help your body to move, but it obviously has a very important job in helping to squeeze food down to your stomach. It's inside of your stomach, helps your stomach move around and churn up food as well. So smooth muscle lines those organs, okay, and helps those organs in the digestive system to function. Nervous system. Obviously, the primary organ here in the nervous system is the brain. The brain controls everything. The brain is controls all systems in your body: movement, function, your heart beating, your lungs, breathing. Okay, all those functions are controlled by the brain. Now, your brain has to be able to relay its messages to all parts of the body, and the way it relays its messages is by means of the nerves. Now, the primary bundle of nerves going down the middle of the back is the spinal cord. Okay, and branching off from the spinal cord is all of these other nerves, okay, that go to the arms and the legs and all the other parts of the body. So the brain is constantly sending out signals for movement and for other things, and is receiving data from the outside through the eyes, through touch, through pain sensors, and so forth. So there's this constant back and forth communication between the brain and the body. The brain controlling the body, and then also sensing information from the outside. The respiratory system is all about bringing in oxygen and getting rid of carbon dioxide. The primary organs here are the lungs. Okay, the lungs are the large sac-like organs. You have two of them. Here's a lung right here, and then you have the other lung over here. Lungs bring in oxygen, expel carbon dioxide. You have this rigid tube called the trachea. Okay, This trachea, unlike the esophagus, is not soft. It's pretty rigid, which means it's pretty stiff. It has to stay open to allow oxygen to come in. You don't want that trachea to fold over or collapse, because then you wouldn't be able to breathe. Okay? A lot of times if somebody's choking, then we have food that accidentally goes down inside the trachea instead of going down the esophagus. And that food gets stuck in the trachea. Well, if you got food stuck in your trachea, there's no oxygen going in. So that means you're not breathing. So we have to get that food out in order that we can breathe. So that is the trachea, and it's a rigid tube. It's a stiff tube, okay, that goes from the mouth to the lungs. And then we have the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle, so we could also put it into the muscular system, but it's also part of the respiratory system. It's going to help the lungs bring in oxygen and then get rid of carbon dioxide. The diaphragm is usually located just beneath the lungs. Okay, so the diaphragm would be right about here. Okay. Skeletal system. That's the bones. Okay, it's a skeleton. It's primarily to give us support, to give us structure. It also gives us protection. Your skull. Okay, your skull being probably one of the most important bones, because your skull obviously protects the brain. The brain is the only organ of the body that's completely encased in bone. Okay. So your skull protects your brain. Pretty important job. You also have the ribs. Okay, the ribs are going to protect your organs like your lungs and your heart and your liver and those other organs. And then you have the bones that obviously give you support, your arm bones and leg bones and so forth. Ligaments. Okay, ligaments are the material that help attach bone to bone. Okay, so you find ligaments in your joints. Okay. Find ligaments in your joints, and your ligaments attach your bone to other bones. Okay, and then you have tendons, and tendons attach muscles to bone. Earlier we talked about the muscular system, and the muscles pull on the bones. Well, the muscles are attached to your bones by these tendons. Okay, so you have ligaments that attach bone to bone. Okay, connect the bones together, and then you have tendons that connect muscles to bone, and then obviously you have the joints, and the joints are where bones hinge together, such as your elbow joint and your shoulder joint. Okay, you have your hip joint and your knee joint. You have all sorts of joints in your hands and your neck as well. Lastly, we have the integumentary system, or the skin. Okay, the skin it has a very important job as well. It is to protect all the outside contaminants. Protect the body from all the outside contaminants. Okay, it's basically, its job is to keep all the bad stuff on the outside of you and not let any of it in. Okay, it's a very durable organ. Takes a lot of abuse, our skin. Okay, it has a very important job. It also, remember, is part of the excretory system. So it has that sweat that is responsible for getting rid of waste products. But that sweat also does help keep us cool. So the skin is responsible for removing waste, but also to regulate the body's temperature and to make sure that we stay at that 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius temperature, so that we can maintain optimal health. Okay. So these are the systems of the body. You can see how a lot of these systems have to interact with each other, like the circulatory system interacting with the respiratory system and digestive system, so it can pick up oxygen and nutrients and deliver those to the cells. And you can see how some of the excretory organs, like the skin and the lungs and the kidneys, all have to work together to get rid of waste products. So you have all the different systems that have their own individual functions. However, they have to be able to interact with each other and work together in order to make sure the overall organism, you and me, continue to function. Okay, well, that is it for the systems of the body. We're going to continue to work on these. We have a lot of learning to do with regards to these systems, a lot of big words, a lot of big names, and remembering what each one of these systems does, and obviously the organs associated with these systems. So we'll continue to work on those. But this is a start, so I will see you guys in class.